Hey everyone, we are just about ready to get started. Reporters, I'll remind you, if you already know you're going to have a question for the mayor, go ahead and raise your hands on Zoom or let me know if you're having issues raising your hands. A los reporteros, por favor, vayan subiendo las manos virtuales para ya después, cuando empecemos con las preguntas, sabemos a quién llamar. And with that, the mayor has joined us. Good afternoon, Mayor Gimenez.
Good afternoon. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great.
Good. Good afternoon, everybody. Today I met with our local medical experts and also had a conference call with the White House doctors to go over our next steps as we continue to open up our economy. As you know, Governor DeSantis issued a statewide order on Friday opening all businesses statewide. However, local governments can continue to have public health regulations to make sure all businesses are opening as safely as possible. Over the weekend, I held virtual meetings with the county managers and attorneys of Broward, Monroe, and Palm Beach counties to go over the governor's order. We are working together to have similar rules as much as possible. The good news is our positivity rate and hospitalizations remain low. Just because we can open up more businesses doesn't mean that we can relax the public health rules that have gotten us to this better place during this pandemic. We have to continue to wear masks in public places, indoors and out, have physical distance of at least 6 feet from others, practice good hygiene, and wash your hands often. So here's what we're going to do. On civil citations, enforcement will continue countywide. And let me explain how this applies to the governor's order to suspend payment of civil citations for individuals. We cannot collect a $100 fine for people who are not wearing masks, who are jammed together, or not distanced at 6 feet. I can understand the governor's thinking, which if people aren't working and not getting any income, they won't be able to pay the fines. At the same time, we have a public health mission to make sure COVID-19 doesn't start to spread again as more businesses are open and more people are out and about. So we will continue to issue civil citations for individuals who do not follow the public health rules. And when the governor's orders ends and the suspension of payments ends, the county will pursue collection sometime in the future. This is not to get money for the county. This is a public safety measure. We're continuing the county fines because people who aren't wearing masks or are crowded together at bars or restaurants or anywhere else we find them, they can be exposing each other to the virus, and we do not want to see another spike, and we don't want to overwhelm our hospitals, which would be a disaster for our community. Now on the order guiding restaurants and bars, which I signed on Saturday. State allows counties to continue to set rules and capacity limits so long as there's a minimum of 50% capacity for restaurants, bars, entertainment establishments, and any business with a food service license. Those businesses can go up to 100% capacity. They can arrange their floor space to achieve the physical distance between tables. The county's $500 fine for civil citations for businesses that do not uphold the new normal rules at their establishments remain in place. We can collect those fines and close those businesses, and we will if they violate the rules. Police and code enforcement will be aggressively monitoring businesses, and I will be meeting with mayors and the League of Cities so that we can coordinate enforcement. Also, the second-degree misdemeanor for violations remains in place, which means a fine of up to $500 and up to 180 days in jail for those owners of businesses that ignore the emergency orders. Public health rules remain, and that means bars can't have people crowded around their counters, still need to have physical distance as close to 6 feet apart as possible. Can't have people drinking and eating while walking around, and they must be seated at a table or at a bar counter to eat and drink. Even on the dance floor at clubs, we are requiring masks. At the noise level, again, the noise level, music, etc. Those rules remain in place. This means no loud music or loud TV at sports bars and restaurants. The decibel level, has to be low enough that people can speak to one another without yelling. All the medical experts say that the virus travels in the air, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. Now for sports and parks. I'll be signing an order that lifts some requirements for parks, commercial sports establishments, and organized sports, and the rules are in keeping with the governor's orders. County will allow organized sports and leagues with certain rules that are being worked on now and will be very similar to Broward County's rules on organized sports. Those who are not actively playing and any spectators must continue to wear masks and be apart at least 6 feet. So relaxing the mask order for strenuous activities under organized sports. Let me stress that pickup games are still not allowed without masks. Also, Miami-Dade County Parks will not be opening up kiddie playgrounds at this time. We want to see what happens the next few weeks to our positivity rates. But in keeping with the governor's order, we will allow private businesses that cater to children's activities to have their playgrounds open with daily cleaning of their playground equipment and other new normal rules to be as safe as possible. Now, in protecting our seniors who are at high risk of getting severely ill from the virus, the governor's order opens all businesses, which means that privately run adult daycare centers can be open, but they will have to abide by the county's rules for masks and distancing and all other rules on air quality for their establishments. Deputy Mayor Maurice Kemp is working with state officials to ensure that those private providers know all the safety rules and follow them to protect our seniors. And finally, on the curfew, we will continue the 11 o'clock to 6 a.m. countywide curfew. I realize folks are excited that the Heat are going to the finals. I know I am, but extending the curfew at this time adds more risk, just as bars and restaurants are expanding. So let's celebrate by watching the Heat and Lakers on our TV at home. Remember, they're playing in the bubble, precisely because it's keeping those players safe. Let's have virtual watch parties. Let's enjoy this time in a safe way. So the message today is clear. We're not out of the woods yet. We all have to be socially responsible. Wearing a mask is a sign of respect to protect your loved ones, your friends, our community. Anything less, you're rolling the dice, and that could lead to a very dangerous situation. We're now entering flu season, and our hospitals cannot be overwhelmed as they were after the Memorial Day weekend, where we eventually spiked to over 20% positivity rate, and young people started to get very sick. We're focusing on protecting our seniors and our underserved minority communities because we know they are at much higher risk of getting severely ill. We have a public service campaign underway, and our search teams continue to operate, get the word out as hotspots appear. We're really pushing testing now that all businesses are able to open. The free testing sites are open and the lines are short. So go get tested, even if you do not have symptoms, because you may be spreading the virus and not even know about it. And I'll be back in a couple of minutes to leave my words, say some words in Spanish. Hold on. Okay, I'm back, and now I'll say a couple of words in Spanish. After that, we'll take some questions. Buenas tardes a todos. Hoy me reuní con mi equipo de expertos médicos y también tuve una llamada con los médicos de la Casa Blanca para hablar sobre los próximos pasos en lo que seguimos abriendo la economía. Como ustedes saben, el gobernador DeSantis el viernes firmó una orden estatal que abre todos los negocios, pero los gobiernos locales todavía pueden tener reglas en lugar para estar seguros que todos los negocios están operando en la forma más segura posible. Durante el fin de semana tuve varias reuniones virtuales con los administradores y abogados de los condados de Broward, Monroe y Palm Beach para estudiar la orden del gobernador. Estamos trabajando juntos para tener reglas parecidas lo más posible. La buena noticia es que los números de casos y los números de pacientes en los hospitales siguen estables. Pero solo porque podemos abrir más negocios no quiere decir que podemos relajar las reglas de salud pública que nos han ayudado a llegar a este momento. Tenemos que seguir usando las máscaras en los lugares públicos, adentro y afuera, y mantener la distancia de 6 pies entre personas y practicar los buenos hábitos como lavarse las manos a menudo. Ahora, esto es lo que estamos haciendo. sobre las multas. Vamos a seguir asegurando que las reglas se siguen por todo el condado. Les explico cómo esto aplica a la orden del gobernador de suspender el pago de multas y las personas individuales. No podemos cobrar las multas de $100 para las personas que no llevan sus máscaras o que no observan el distanciamiento de 6 pies. Yo entiendo por qué el gobernador no quiere multas. Si las personas no están trabajando y no están ganando dinero, no van a poder pagar las multas. Al mismo tiempo, tenemos una misión de salud pública para estar seguros que el número de casos de COVID-19 no empiece a subir otra vez. Así que vamos a continuar poniendo multas para las personas que no siguen las reglas, y cuando la orden del gobernador termine y la suspensión de pago de las multas termine, el condado entonces puede colectar en el futuro. Vamos a seguir con las multas porque las personas que no se ponen sus máscaras y que están todos juntos en las barras y los restaurantes o en cualquier otro lugar pueden estar poniendo en riesgo a otras personas. Y no queremos que suban los números otra vez y tener problemas con los hospitales, con muchos casos. Eso sería un desastre para nuestra comunidad. Ahora, cuando se trata de la orden de bares y restaurantes que firmé el sábado, el Estado permite que los condados sigan haciendo reglas y limitar las capacidades siempre y cuando hay un mínimo de 50% de capacidad en los restaurantes, las barras, los lugares de entretenimiento y cualquier negocio que tenga una licencia para servir comidas. Esos negocios pueden llegar a la capacidad de 100% si pueden en su espacio tener el distanciamiento correcto. Las multas de $500 para los restaurantes y negocios que no siguen las reglas de la nueva normalidad siguen en lugar. Podemos cobrar esas multas y podemos cerrar esos negocios. Y lo vamos a hacer si violan las reglas. La policía y nuestros agentes de códigos van a estar revisando todos estos negocios. Y yo voy a reunirme con los alcaldes y la Liga de Ciudad para estar de acuerdo en esos esfuerzos. Además, es un delito menor no seguir las órdenes de emergencia y la multa de $500 y 180 días en cárcel se puede imponer. Las reglas de salud pública están en lugar y eso quiere decir que los bares no pueden estar repletos de gentes en los counters o los mostradores. Todavía necesitan tener la distancia de 6 pies lo más posible. La gente no puede estar tomando y comiendo en lo que está caminando. Tienen que estar sentados en su mesa o en la barra para comer y beber. Hasta bailando en los clubs tienen que llevar sus máscaras. En los restaurantes y bares sigue la regla de mantener el nivel de ruido bajo. El nivel tiene que ser bastante bajo que las personas pueden hablar sin tener que gritar. Todos los expertos médicos dicen que el virus viaja por el aire y queremos evitar eso lo más posible. Ahora hablando de los deportes y los parques. Voy a firmar una orden que quita algunas de las reglas para los parques, los lugares de deportes comerciales y los deportes organizados. Y las reglas están de acuerdo con la orden del gobernador. La orden del condado va a dejar que los deportes organizados y las ligas operen con ciertas reglas. Estamos trabajando en eso en este momento. Las reglas van a ser parecidas a las que tiene el condado de Broward. Las personas que no están jugando en cualquier momento y las personas que están solo visitando tienen que seguir con las máscaras y estar a 6 pies de distancia. Los juegos donde la gente desconocida se reúne con los pickup games todavía no se permiten sin máscaras. Y los parques del condado de Miami-Dade en este momento todavía no van a abrir los parquecitos de los niños para jugar. Queremos ver qué pasa con el número de casos. Pero para estar de acuerdo con la orden del gobernador, vamos a permitir que los negocios privados que tienen actividades de niños en sus patios de recreo operen con reglas de limpieza diaria en los equipos y siguiendo las reglas de la nueva normalidad. Ahora hablando de proteger nuestra población de personas de edad avanzada, que son los que tienen el más riesgo de enfermarse con este virus. La orden del gobernador abre todos los negocios. Quiere decir que los centros donde las personas de edad avanzada a pasar al día pueden abrir, los adult daycares. Pero todavía van a tener que seguir las reglas del condado para máscaras y distanciamiento y todas las otras reglas que tratan con la calidad del aire en esos lugares. El vicealcalde Maurice Kemp está trabajando con los oficiales del estado para asegurar que los daycares para adultos conozcan las reglas para proteger esta población de seniors. Finalmente, el toque de queda va a continuar de 11 de la noche a 6 de la mañana en todo el condado de Miami-Dade. Me doy cuenta que todo el mundo está muy contento que el Miami Heat va a los finales de la NBA. Yo estoy también muy contento. Pero quitar el toque de queda solo nos pone en más riesgos en el momento exacto que en los bares y los restaurantes están expandiendo su capacidad. Así que vamos a celebrar viendo los juegos en casa. Los mismos jugadores están en un bubble. Podemos tener fiestas virtuales, podemos disfrutar el juego en esa forma más segura. Así que el mensaje hoy es claro, esto no se ha acabado. Todavía tenemos que ser responsables. Llevar una máscara es un señal de respeto para proteger a sus seres queridos, sus amigos, su comunidad. Hacer menos que eso es ponernos todos en riesgo y puede crear una situación bien peligrosa. También estamos ahora entrando en la temporada de flu y los hospitales no pueden sobreextenderse, como pasó después del fin de semana de Memorial Day, cuando eventualmente llegamos a más de un 20% de casos en la comunidad. La gente joven se empezó a enfermar. Estamos enfocados en proteger a nuestros seniors y las comunidades de minorías. Sabemos que ellos están en un alto riesgo de enfermarse severamente con el virus. Tenemos una campaña de servicio público y que ya ha empezado, y nuestros equipos especiales siguen operando en esas áreas, en las áreas calientes donde aparece el virus en la comunidad. Estamos ahora empujando más pruebas. Tenemos los sitios de pruebas abiertos. Las líneas están cortas, así que vayan a hacerse las pruebas, aunque no tengan síntomas, porque pueden tener el virus y no saberlo. Gracias. Thank you, all of you. And now, Patty, I will answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And before we get to the questions, reporters, please remember to raise your Zoom hands. And I'd also like to let you know that Deputy Mayors Maurice Kemp and Jennifer Moon are with us today on the Zoom conference, and they can answer any maybe more specific questions you might have on emergency orders, enforcement, and things like that. And with that, we will get started with our first question from Andrew Scheinthal from 7 News.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much today for doing this. I have 2 quick questions. The first one is, can you clarify what capacity restaurants and bars can currently open at today? And then the second question is, if there is an increase of COVID-19, is there any flexibility to put in stricter regulations, or would you have to talk to the governor and ask him if you can do something like that?
It should be very clear what the capacity are. If you have a restaurant, if you have a place of business that has a food service license, and you have a large enough space where you can keep your tables apart, 6 feet apart, and then the capacity limits at the tables, which is 6 maximum, the largest tables is 6 maximum and up to 10 for a household party. If you can do that, you can get up to 100%. The minimum, though, that the law or the order requires from the governor is 50%. So we know that a lot of restaurants had a lot of difficulty getting up to 50% with a spacing requirement. So they'll be allowed to get up to 50% with the tables closer than 6. Those are the rules. As far as, if we end up, having more positivity, more increases in our hospitalizations, et cetera, we can take other measures to close things down a little bit, but as far as restaurants and businesses, we're going to have to ask the governor to revise his order.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And moving on now, we will go to Andrew Barriga from the Sun Sentinel.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Patty. My question is similar to the previous one. In terms of the capacity, over the order, it says that if you limit less than 100%, the local order must, quote, quantify the economic impact of each limitation or requirement on those restaurants. explain why the limitation requirement is necessary for public health. That's in Governor DeSantis' order. Those 6 feet, what you were saying about a business being able to go 100% if the tables are 6 feet apart, do you have to then quantify the economic impact, or is that sort of built into the order already? The language.
No, we followed the governor's order. We quantified the economic impact of the measures that were taken, and it's in the order. And then we also justified why we could limit capacity less than 100 because with the advice and the medical literature and what's known about the virus, we justified why we would limit that if you could not get the 6 foot separation.
And so just one follow. You said that the economic part is quantified in the order. What?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What's the
Jennifer, can you answer that question?
Sure. In the whereas clause, they're on the second page. It indicates that the restaurant industry experienced a 15% reduction in sales in March, a 48% reduction in sales in April, a 65% reduction in May, and 54% reduction in June compared to January sales. We're sort of limited in the amount of information that we have. We have to assume that those reductions are because of the capacity limitations that occurred. And we only have data through June because of the delays in receiving the statistical information from the state on sales tax collections. But that was what we could do in order to quantify the impacts of any capacity limitations on the restaurants.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina Vasquez, Local 10.
Hi, good afternoon. I had one question related to, I know you had been in consultation with the county attorneys, and I'm curious to see whether or not you've come to a legal analysis that the governor did exceed his powers, that there was an overreach when it comes to the Home Rules Powers Act from his decision on Friday. And if that's something you would be working with either other.
We lost you, Christina.
Miami-Dade County League of Cities, or the coordinating a response, and perhaps could now see additional cases due to community spread.
Christina, you
kind
cut
of broke
out
up halfway through your question.
asking the question, so can you start over?
Yeah, absolutely. If you can still hear me, the question is, in consultation with your county's attorneys, which I know you've been in consultation with, do you think Florida's governor has exceeded or overreached the Home Rules Powers Act with this decision on Friday? And is that something you're going to continue to look into as we move forward? Is there any planned response to the governor?
Well, Miami-Dade County is a little bit different than the other two counties. We have a home rule charter, and it's actually in the state constitution, and it gives us some differences in our ability and our capacity to challenge the state. At this point, we can work within the boundaries of the rules, and our attorneys are looking to see if, in fact, we needed to do something different. Can we take different action? The state also gives extraordinary power to the governor, and when there is a state of emergency issued, the governor has some extraordinary powers too. So, we're not looking to buck the governor or the state. We're looking to work with them, but we have challenged the state's right to do certain things in Miami-Dade County. At this point, we don't see a need to do that. So we're working inside the rules.
Thank you, Mayor. Adriana,
Thank you.
Associated Press. Adriana?
Hi, I'm sorry, I was struggling with the mute. Hi, Mayor. Can you repeat one more time that what will you be asking the governor's office to revise? And I also wanted to ask you, when Governor DeSantis made the announcement on Friday, did he run anything by your office? Did you have any clue that was coming?
Yes, before the order came out, we had, they gave us a heads up that the order was coming out. There was one detail that wasn't relayed at the time, and I'm not sure it was an oversight, but it was a detail that actually caused us to sit back and wonder exactly what we could do, and then we had to have our attorneys interpret what that meant. And so I'm not asking the governor to do anything right now. We're going to work inside the governor's rules. I think it allows allows us to do a lot of what we want to do. There are some places that may be opening a little sooner than we wanted to, but we were also looking at how we could open up bars. Even though I had said before that probably wouldn't be able to open up bars prior to having a vaccine. We had spoken about it, and really those bars that had food service licenses that could operate as restaurants, we really felt it was a little bit unfair to have them close as long as they operated like they were operating like a restaurant. And so we didn't see that was a difference. And so we were about to issue something about that. There are other places that open up a little bit earlier than what we wanted to. We take a more cautious approach here in Miami-Dade. And so, but again, we can work inside the governor's orders at this time.
Thank you very much. Andy Slater, Fox Sports Radio.
Hi, Mayor. Nice dog behind you there. We got to see it. About the NBA Finals.
You saw my dog? Is that what you saw?
Yeah.
Back there?
Well, somebody's dog right back there.
No, it's my dog. There's two. Those are two rescues that I had that I got. So
nice.
Really cool dogs. Yeah.
As far as restaurants and bars go, for the NBA Finals, you made an exemption for the Hurricanes game, started at 8:00, as far as the curfew went. Is it that big of a deal to you? What goes through your head in deciding this, not to let people go to restaurants and push the curfew back just 1 hour to midnight?
Yeah, because then I would have to do it for everything. And so I don't think right now we're opening up a lot of things. And if I push the curfew back to 12, then people would think, hey, everything's great. Everything's fantastic. Everything's not great. Everything's not fantastic. Yes, we're in a better place. But my experts and also the White House experts tell us it's better to do it incrementally. And so we have just opened up a whole bunch of things. And so let's leave the curfew at 11:00 until we see what the openings do. And then if everything's remaining stable, then we can move the curfew back to midnight. And so that's the thought process behind that. And there was one other reason is that the Hurricane game they actually had people over there at the Hard Rock, okay, at the stadium, and they wouldn't leave until the game was over. And so that's a little bit different. So there are no games here. They're all in the bubble, and they're all in the bubble for a reason, because they want to be safe. And so the NBA plays under very safe guidelines. I want to make sure Miami-Dade residents are safe too.
Just a quick follow-up, if I can. As far as the curfew goes, does that mean that restaurants at every place has to shut down? Are they the ones that get fined, or is it just the people out on the streets? And how would those fines work? Like you talked about the masks.
Yeah, the restaurants have to.
Mayor, somehow you got muted there.
Whoever's running this muted me, okay? 'Cause I didn't do it. All right, so maybe somebody doesn't want to hear what I have to say. But anyway.
Wasn't me.
All right, here we go. All right, so I don't know where I got muted, but here, all right. You heard the part about the Hurricanes, right? The Hurricanes actually played at the Hard Rock, and they were there physically, and so that's a little bit different. Curfew is 11. Restaurants have to close and all other establishments have to close by 11. Who's going to get fined? You could get fined as an individual if you're out. Remember, violating an order, we changed it to a civil citation, but we never let go of the fact that violation of an emergency order is actually a Class 2 misdemeanor. So you could get arrested, and you could spend about 180 days in jail and a $500 fine, individually or a business. And our attorneys say that the suspension of fines is probably for the civil citation, not so much criminal. So while we haven't issued many fines for that, people have been very good about maintaining the curfew. The businesses are a different story. if a business decides they want to operate, past 11 o'clock, they're going to probably see an inspector in there and probably going to get a notice to appear or a fine and maybe shut down. And so we're really going to be focusing in on the businesses to make sure that they comply with the rules. And then if somebody, wants to, once you're given a warning, hey, you need to do this, and they continue to violate the rules, they can find themselves with a fine, which they may have to pay later after this is all over, or they may find themselves, with a notice to appear. And that means notice to appear in court because you've just been cited for a second-degree misdemeanor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Doug Hanks, Miami Herald.
Thank you very much. Mayor, apparently, can you give us some details on this Dr. Burks saying earlier today that she was deeply concerned about the situation in Miami-Dade with the looser rules? What was your takeaway from what she had said?
My takeaway was that she was deeply concerned about loosening the rules in Miami-Dade County. That's what she said. That our positivity rate wasn't at the same level that it was back in May, when then we saw the Memorial Day, spike. And so she was concerned about the loosening of the rules. I think that she was also, though, hardened by the fact that we, inside the framework, we were able to take steps to kind of be more cautious, all right? And we are more cautious. And so she was hardened by the steps that we took, but she was somewhat concerned about the loosening of the rules.
Can you put that in the context of your concerns? Like, have you spoken to the governor? Have you shared your concerns with him? And what are your?
My concerns are that Miami-Dade's positivity, Miami-Dade's number of cases is higher than the rest of the state. My concern is, again, we've taken a very cautious approach. We've taken, we've opened up little by little by little by little. We've seen, good results from that. And my concern is that opening up too many things too quickly could lead us in the opposite direction. But that's why we're taking some of these measures that, yes, we're opening up, but we're not opening up all the way. We're not letting bars operate 100%. We're not letting even restaurants operate at 100%. We got to have the social distancing. And also, my message today, in which we will now continue to with our code enforcement and our police officers, the message is, excuse me, this is not over. We have to keep our guard up. We have to keep our social distancing. We have to, put on our masks. And if we do that, then even as we open, we can continue to keep this at a low level.
Thank you, Mayor. Joe Fuller from WSFL. Did you have a question?
Hi, Mayor. Thank you for just talking with us today. Like you said, things are opening. Things are going to get a little bit more crowded, a little bit more busy. And you said that people should still be getting tested now that it's available. There are those rapid tests coming into the state of Florida. Do you know how many Dade County is going to get and where they're going to go?
No, I know that the federal government ordered 150 million. So that's like one for every two people. So I would think that we'd get our fair share down here of these rapid tests. There are more rapid tests that are commercially available every day. So we need to get more of those. But again, we need people to maintain their distance, keep their masks on. Keeping their mask on is actually the best thing. And also talking, not yelling at each other through the mask, okay? Just talking. That's why we have the noise levels down so that you don't have to yell at each other. Because the more you yell, the more you exert, the more particles go out, the more this virus you're being exposed to, and the higher likelihood that you're going to be infected. And so all those things work together. But testing is very important.
I see Mike raising his hand over here.
Yes, thank you. This is Mike with the Flow Channel. And Mayor, I was curious, what do you envision the collection of some of these fines or citations looking like down the road at whatever point in time?
We like I said, this is not about making money. I think we've cited maybe 1,000 people the entire time that we've had these, these civil citations and all that. Excuse me. So it's not really an issue of making money. It's just a question of, look, you got to have some kind of enforcement when you have a rule. And so, yeah, we're going to continue to fine you. And if it's a civil fine, we'll collect it when it's all said and done. If it's a criminal, you're going to have a notice to appear. Now, will the state attorney follow up with that? I'm not sure. You're going to have to excuse me 1 second. Okay, I'm getting a little scratchy throat. That's what's going on. But I tested negative 2 days ago, so I'm okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we have Jim DeFeedy from CBS 4.
Mr. Mayor, a couple of quick questions and then one a little longer. Let me clarify a couple of things that you said earlier. You said you've been talking to White House doctors. Does that include Dr. Scott Atlas?
Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci.
Okay.
Okay.
Doug Hanks asked you if you spoke directly to the governor. You talked in general terms, but have you spoken to the governor since he issued his order?
No, I have not. I've spoken to the governor's chief of staff.
Gave you a heads up. Can you clarify that a little bit? Can you explain when you say that you were given a heads up? Were you being consulted, or were you just being told this is about to be issued in 10 minutes?
It was more of a, where we are going to be issuing an order like this. And so, do you have a problem with it? And so I was asked if I had a problem with. There were certain things I did have a problem with, which was the enforcement aspect of it, and the lack of ability to enforce whatever rules we had in place. And so I voiced that concern to the governor's chief of staff. And then remember, I said that there was an issue that wasn't really outlined to me that caused us. There was the financial impact to a restaurant and justification of the actions that we took. That wasn't relayed to me when we spoke. And so,
all right. And my last question is, just cutting through it all, do you agree with the governor's decision? Do you support the governor's decision to move to phase 3?
I think the governor's decision to move to phase 3 is appropriate in certain parts of the state. And like I said, we have enough discretion inside the governor's decision to do the things that we have to do.
Thank you, Mayor. Now let's move on to Spanish with Ana Cuervo from Telemundo 51. Hi, Ana.
Hello, Patty. Muchas gracias, Patricia, y para el alcalde. Hace 2 semanas, en una conferencia de prensa muy similar, expresó que usted no quería que abrieran las barras y los centros nocturnos hasta que hubiera, de hecho, una vacuna. Ahora vimos este pasado fin de semana que solamente horas después del anuncio del gobernador, las barras en Miami estaban llenas, sin distanciamiento, sin mascarillas. ¿Cuán preocupado está usted por este cambio? Y esto fue conjuntamente con la oficina del gobernador. Sabemos que a través de todo esto han trabajado muy unidos ustedes dos. ¿Le advirtieron sobre estos cambios y está de acuerdo con estos cambios?
Bueno, acuérdate que también yo dije ya que cambiamos nuestro pensamiento en ciertas barras que podían operar como restaurante, que se podían sentar en una mesa, se podían separar las mesas, etcétera. Que estábamos formulando diferentes reglas para ese tipo de negocio. Pero las barras siempre han sido un problema. También las discotecas van a ser un problema. Porque es muy difícil no mantener esta distancia. Pero ahora con esta orden, si tienes la barra tiene que operar como un restaurante, pueden llegar a un 50%, tiene que tener por lo menos un 50% de capacidad. Y también separar las mesas lo más posible con 50% de capacidad. Si tienen espacio más grande, pueden separar las mesas a un 6 pies, pueden llegar a 100% de su capacidad. Así que operando como un restaurante, nosotros ya estábamos cambiando la mente en que puede ser que esos negocios podían abrir. Hay otras barras que nada más que simplemente son las barras. Eso es más problemático para nosotros porque si hay un 50% de la capacidad, no creo que ellos puedan llegar a un 6 pies de distancia entre pues, un cliente y otro. Así que hay ciertos problemas con estas órdenes para nosotros porque nosotros siempre queremos ese tipo de separación. Ahora puede ser que no hay negocios que no pueden establecer ese tipo de separación y mantener un 50% de su capacidad, que es lo mínimo que ellos pueden tener debajo de esta orden.
Anna, you're muted.
Si el gobernador le dio advertencia sobre este anuncio de trasladar el estado completo a fase 3, cuando sabemos que el sur de la Florida está haciendo las cosas de una forma mucho más lenta por el gran número de casos. Y si está de acuerdo con estos cambios por parte del gobernador.
Bueno, el gobernador, mira, cierta parte del estado esto es una orden que pueden abrir porque tienen el nivel de contagio mucho menos que el condado de Miami-Dade. Lo que yo he dicho es que la orden lo ha dado a nosotros, por lo menos hay medidas que nosotros podemos tomar aquí en el condado que son mucho más estrictas que otras partes del estado de la Florida. Así que por eso podemos tener ciertas medidas que otras partes del estado no desean tener. Así que sí, hay flexibilidad, hay suficiente flexibilidad adentro de la orden para mantenerlos más seguros. Estoy de acuerdo con todo, puede ser que no, pero también yo no soy el gobernador y también la situación aquí en el condado de Miami-Dade es diferente que la situación en el resto del estado de Florida.
Gracias, alcalde. Pasamos ahora con Emmanuel Villalobos de TVB.
Gracias, Pati. Buenas tardes, alcalde. Usted está pidiendo a los CDC no extender la orden de no navegar que vence el 30 de septiembre. Quería saber si tiene alguna actualización sobre eso. ¿Qué tan importante es para la economía local reactivar este sector? Y si es seguro, a pesar de que ya el Estado está en fase 3, pues reactivar el tema de los cruceros. Bueno,
estamos hablando de los cruceros. Los cruceros. Sí, estoy de acuerdo que ya deben de quitar lo que es el moratorium para los viajes, porque el protocolo que han establecido los cruceros es extraordinario. Quiere decir que todas las personas, todos los empleados que van al crucero tienen un examen, van a estar examinados ya y también tienen que estar en el barco por 10 días así sin síntomas. Y también todas las personas que van al crucero también le van a dar un examen. Y no solo un examen de PCR, un examen de PCR que es el examen más, en inglés se llama accurate, ¿sabe? Que es más sensitivo. Así que quiere decir que 100% de las personas que van a ese crucero ya se han examinado y no hay ninguna ciudad en el mundo que tenga 100% de sus ciudadanos con examen tan reciente. Así que yo creo que sí, las medidas que ellos están tomando son extraordinarias y yo creo que se puede viajar de una manera segura y también los viajes van a ser, yo creo, menos de una semana, que también va a asegurar que va a ser mucho más seguro. Los cruceros están operando en Europa ya desde junio y no han tenido muchos casos, el porcentaje de casos es súper bajo, así que yo creo que sí se debe establecer otra vez aquí en los Estados Unidos.
Gracias, alcalde. Erika Carrillo, Noticias 23.
Alcalde, buenas tardes. Alcalde, yo quisiera aclarar el tema de la capacidad adentro, porque parte de la orden del gobernador era 100% adentro, afuera, donde los negocios puedan, pero hay mucha confusión con ese tema. Adentro, si se conservan los 6 pies de distancia, los restaurantes van a poder estar 100% capacidad o sigue solo al 50, aunque tengan los 6 pies de distancia adentro para poder estar full.
Ok. Si hay un restaurante que tiene espacio para mantener 6 pies de distancia entre las mesas, puede llegar, 6 pies de distancia, puede llegar a 100% de su capacidad. Pero hay muchos restaurantes que no tienen ese espacio, así que la mayoría de los restaurantes estaban operando en menos del 50% porque no podían mantener esos 6 pies de distancia. Ahora, lo mínimo ahora es 50% de su capacidad. Así que muchos restaurantes van a tener las mesas más cerca de 6 pies para llegar a esos 50%. También los restaurantes no tienen que hacer eso. Si los restaurantes quieren mantener sus 6 pies y la distancia y ser mucho más seguros, lo pueden hacer. No hay nada en esta orden que dicen que tienen que llegar a 50%. Es que pueden llegar a 50%. Y si quieren llegar a 100%, tienen que tener la distancia entre las mesas de 6 pies y también mantener las mesas, la capacidad, limitar la capacidad a 6 mesas de 6 personas, lo máximo, o 10 si son del mismo lugar.
Gracias, alcalde.
¿Puedo hacer otra pregunta rapidita? Alcalde, el toque de queda. Ayer hubo una reunión en Ciudad de Miami. El alcalde Suárez había pedido junto a, creo que era un grupo de 50 negocios de Ciudad de Miami, una extensión. ¿Qué tomó usted en consideración para no extender ese toque de queda?
Bueno, hablando con los expertos de la Casa Blanca y también nuestros expertos, yo creo que ellos, es que ellos no creen que es un buen señal abriéndolo hasta las 12 de la noche, bajándolo al toque de queda hasta las 12 de la noche, porque entonces eso le da un mensaje que no es cierto, que todo está bien y estamos abriendo todas estas cosas y estamos llevando el toque de queda a las 12. Yo hablé con el alcalde Suárez y estaba pensando de eso y lo que él dice tiene mérito, que hay mucha gente que van a estar mirando el juego del Heat, van a estar en restaurantes, etcétera, y ese juego yo no creo que empieza hasta las 9:30, eso no se va a terminar hasta, puede ser a las 12, y por ese instante a dejar que esas personas se puedan estar afuera hasta las 12, pero hablando con el abogado del condado de Miami-Dade, él dice que eso no es buena idea, dar una excepción para toda la gente que están mirando el Heat sin quitar el toque de queda hasta las 12. Y eso yo no creo que es un mensaje que yo quiero dar.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to go back to English for a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. Patty Mazzei with the New York Times.
Hey, Mayor. In your calls with Drs. Birx and Fauci, and I don't know if you've spoken to anybody else in the federal government, what have your discussions been on the cruises? Because, you know, you're consulting with them on the other issues, but did you consult with them on suggesting that the no sale order should not be continued? And if so, what did they say?
Actually, did not. Today's discussion centered more about what the governor's orders were and what steps we had taken. But I'll be happy to the next time. The no sale order, I think, expires now on the 30th unless it's extended. You know, I've said that I think, you know, in Europe they've been sailing since June, I believe. The cruise industry, their plan is extraordinary. It means 100% of the people that are going to be on that cruise ship are going to be PCR tested prior to cruising. There's no city in the world that has that. And so that actually makes it really, really safe. And then the crew members not only are going to be PCR tested, but they're going to be kind of quarantined inside that ship. So they won't be having this interchange of crew members that are coming in and out. So if you do that, and then you test every single passenger coming in, not only before they leave their point of exit, but also before they get on the ship with PCR testing, I think that's a pretty extraordinary thing. Plus, they're going to have mask wearing, social distancing, everything while you're on the ship. So I'm in favor of lifting the no sale order and letting them operate hopefully by November.
Okay, but you didn't talk to them in the past about in Washington or to the governor?
No, I did not. I have not.
The CDC, nothing?
No, I have not.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one more follow-up question now from Andy Slater.
Mayor, so the governor's order says that businesses have to be able to operate and people have to be able to work. I've spoken to multiple strip club owners, nightclub owners, and they all say, how can we operate when there's an 11 p.m. curfew? We operate at night. A nightclub is for night. So how do you put that together when a business can't operate because they have to operate past 11? It's a nightclub.
No, they can operate to 11 o'clock. Okay. So right now the curfew is 11 o'clock. All right. One of the reasons why we do that is the social aspect, the socializing aspect, all of that. Okay. We think is somewhat dangerous. And so the curfew stays at 11 o'clock. I'm sure we're going to be challenged, and then we'll figure it out then.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Doug, did you have one more thing? Doug, I see your hand up again. Did you have something else?
I'm sorry. I did. Mayor, do you think that Governor DeSantis...
You're not going to ask me about adult clubs, are you?
No,
are you,
I'm not.
Okay, all right. Okay.
All
right.
Is Governor DeSantis making your job harder with his orders?
My job's never easy. So, it just comes with the territory now. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. And coming up next, we will have Lionel with the mayor's message in Haitian Creole. But before then, Mayor, if you wanted to go, you wanted to say anything before you get off the call?
Before I go, just want to stress stress to everybody, all the media, if you could please get this word out. I think there's a lot of confusion once the order came out because people thought that was it. Everything's open, and it could have been for a day until we sorted everything out. But everything is not open, 100% the way it was before. We still need to keep our social distancing. We still need to wear masks. We still need to wash our hands. And then those businesses that are operating, you need to follow the guidelines. And if you do, you'll be fine. And if we follow the guidelines, we'll be fine. And so that's the message that we need to stress. Just keep your guard up. And if we do that, and if we do things and use common sense, then we can avoid what many experts predict will be a next wave, and if we not avoid it, then there'll be a much lower wave than some people fear, and that's what we want to do. So please, if you can do that, I appreciate it. And again, the message to everybody: hey, keep your guard up. It's we're still not out of the woods. Flu season is around the corner, and we don't want a double whammy. And so with that, I want to thank everybody, and everybody be safe. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mayor. And now here's Lionel with the mayor's message in Haitian Creole.
Bonjour, ici département communication, compte Miami-Dade, nous parlons de déclaration Maire Gimenez fait dans langue anglaise avec espagnol. Bonsoir tout le monde. Jeudi, nous avons expert médical avec nous et nous avons un appel conférence avec Maison Blanche, avec docteur pour nous regarder les prochaines étapes que nous avons pour nous franchir. Nous, j'en connais, le gouverneur de Santis prend des décisions pendant la journée vendredi qui s'est passée pour être capable d'ouvrir business dans tout État. Et nous, le gouvernement local, a quand même responsabilité pour protéger tout ça qui a rapport avec santé publique et pendant que assurer que toute bagaille l'ouvrir en sécurité. La nouvelle là, c'est que le niveau positivité avec hospitalisation nous était assez bas. Et ça ne veut pas dire quand même que nous devons baisser les bras parce que le niveau ça était bas. Nous gagnons pour nous continuer à mettre masques dans la zone publique, dans ou dehors, et que nous sommes capables de respecter la distance sociale avec la distance physique qui est nécessaire, 6 pieds l'un par rapport avec l'autre. Mais qui est ça pour le passer? Pour ça qui a un rapport avec citation, et nous allons continuer à faire respecter pendant tout règlement, pendant toute la durée, toute période ça, à travers tout comté. Et m'a expliqué nous qui ça va le passer. Le gouverneur a pris une décision pour te suspendre tout paiement avec citation pour Mounio. Nous ne sommes pas capables de collecter $100 si nous prenons une citation contre un monde. Si nous n'avons pas de masque, s'il allait réunir dans le bar et qu'il était pile souple l'une avec l'autre, il n'a pas respecté 6 pierres. Et même, genre, tout, santé publique était une mission qui est importante pour nous capables d'empêcher que COVID-19 là continuer et pas payer les sous-comptes nous. Alors, ça l'a fait. Nous continuer pour nous bailler citation civile, pour moun yo, nous pas recevoir l'argent, mais sitôt que décision gouverneur la fin passée et que ordre pour nous recevoir paiement autour fin passé, là ça a compté après aller faire collection et pour aller recevoir l'argent ça yo dans les monde qui recevoir citation yo. Nous allons continuer à remettre citation yo pour monde qui pas porter masque, monde qui réunit dans bar en désordre et quel que soit côté monde nan et qui exposer l'autre monde avec risque, nous allons quand même bailler citation pour nous pas mettre communauté noire dans situation difficile. Décret qui baille pour ça qui a un rapport avec bar, avec restaurant, nous te signé dans le samedi qui s'est passé et l'État permet que nous continuions pour nous capables de faire règles ça respecter pendant que nous allons faire en sorte que nous gagnons au minimum 50% capacité dans le restaurant avec bar et zone qui est établissement comme business qui offre manger avec monde mais qui a licence. Pour business yo, gagne $500 que vous devez payer comme amende si vous pas respecter règlement yo et ça l'a continué fait et n'a continué recevoir paiement ça lorsque moun yo pas respecter règlement qui établi. La police là pour les capable faire respecter les règles et il a agressivement continué travail pour yo capable faire rencontre que yo gagne pour yo faire avec moun yo et que faire respecter les règlements il a toujours fait en sorte que la police fait respecter les règlements. Moi-même de côté par moi, je vais rencontrer avec Mario, avec Ligue Vilio pour nous capables de coordonner efforts nous. Gagner crime au second degré, que violation ça est au bail. Et pour ça qui gagne rapport à $500 et moun capable de gagner 180 jours pour passer dans la prison lorsque un propriétaire business décide d'ignorer le règlement qui est établi. Santé publique là était un bagage qui est important pour nous. Ça veut dire que barrio pas capable de monde qui a réuni pile sous comptoir yo pas capable de monde qui a mangé et qui a payé boire pendant que a marché une par rapport avec l'autre. Yo doit chita en côté pour yo manger, yo doit chita son table ou bien sur un bar. Monde qui parle danser yo sous piste de danse là, yo doit faire en sorte que yo gagne un masque dans visage. Pour bruit, yo doit faire en sorte que gagne moins que bruit possible et niveau décibel là pas obligé, mon obligé parler fort pour être capable de relayer sur l'autre. Expert dit que lorsque vous parlez fort, le virus est capable de voyager dans l'air. Maintenant, pour ça qui a rapport avec parc, avec sport, moi j'ai signé un décret, qui pourra lever le règlement qui a un rapport avec parc, avec sport commercial, avec établissement qui est organisé pour sport, pour nous capables de kembe et rester dans l'ordre que ça que le gouverneur a établi lui-même. Compté pour aller faire en sorte que nous autoriser sport ça avec ligue mais règles pour aller continuer à respecter, nous pour faire en sorte que nous appliquer même règles avec Broward County par exemple. Bon même mettez accent sur bagay. Tout sport qui gagne pour nous ramasser balio, ça nous pouvons autoriser. Pour nous rester en harmonie avec sa gouverneur a été décidé et sport privé qui gagne gros business privé qui là pour bailler tout monde manger, qui gagne activité, qui gagne jouet pour tout monde et qui gagne équipement, ça yo pas nettoyer régulièrement même gens avec règlement nouveau normal là qui est établi. Pour nous capable protéger grand monde yo tout qui gagne risque pour capable attraper virus là et que capable tomber malade. Pour nous rester en harmonie avec sa gouverneur a dit et moun sa yo y a capable l'ouvrir business yo centre qui gagne pour business qui pour protéger grand moun yo y a capable l'ouvrir mais yo pral faire en sorte que respecter toutes règles mettre masque respecter distance qui normal yo et faire que qualité air là rete une qualité air qui normale et qui propre. Magistrat adjoint Maurice Kemp gagne pour le travail avec officiel dans l'état yo de sorte que yo capable assurer que règles yo respectées et pour yo capable clair tout monde capable suivre yo pour protection monde qui âgé. Finalement, couvre-feu qui sorti à 11h du soir pour finir à 6h du matin, il est toujours en cours. Moi connais que y a pile monde qui content que hit passer dans finale. Mais sinon, étant couvre-feu, ça veut dire que nous ne pouvons pas mettre en situation que bar avec restaurant ou être ouvert. Message moins clair. Faut chaque monde prend responsabilité sociale. Porter masque et faire en sorte que nous respections tout le monde qui est bon côté nous, amis nous, qui est dans la communauté avec nous. Nous allons entrer dans une période côté d'une grippe. Et période grippe là capable de faire que un peu le monde allait à l'hôpital. Même gens ça t'est passé après Memorial Day, lorsque il y a 20% dans le monde qui était abouti et il y a un niveau de positivité qui était monté. Et le monde est tombé malade à ce moment-là. Nous continuons à gagner attention, nous pour le monde qui est âgé. Et à ce moment-là, ça n'a fait, nous a fait en sorte que toute zone qui gagne grand monde âgé avec minorité, ils sont capables de gagner toute protection santé publique qui est nécessaire dans le moment que nous avons parlé, et le groupe SURGE est capable de continuer à opérer. Il y a un site qui l'ouvre pour faire test, tant pis, allez faire test nous, et puis gars, nous pensons que nous avons des symptômes, ou bien nous gagnons, ou bien nous pas gagnons. Que nous avons symptômes, que nous pas de symptômes, allez faire test là pour nous empêcher que le virus là continue à propager. Tant pis, restez en sécurité. Merci un peu.
Thank you so much, Lionel, and thank you everyone for sticking around, and we will see you next time. Have a great afternoon.